Hey everyone, Chris here from Iron Horse Woodcraft, and in today's video I'm going to share some lessons I learned from a recent vendor show that I did. And this hopefully won't just be helpful for woodworkers, but also anyone that's in the market and show business. So sit right back and let's get going. My first tip is to vet your own shows that you go to. Don't just go to any old show. And the reason why I say that is this one that I went to was at my local Legion, and the money that was from the table sales went back into Legion, which is always a plus. The downside is that since it was such a low cost for a table, there wasn't a lot of money that was spent on advertising, and that was reflected in the numbers of attendance later on. So first tip is to definitely kind of get what you pay for when it comes towards attending these shows. The next tip comes straight from the scouting motto, and that's be prepared. So they didn't actually give you a time that you had to be there to set up and what time to have your table ready to go, but I made sure I gave myself at least a good hour to get set up, so then I worked back from there what time I needed to load up and leave, and give yourself even more time. All you need is a little bit of weather or the last minute, oops, I forgot this, that you need to run back into the house and grab. So you need to give yourself a lot of time and don't just expect to show up and set up and be ready to go instantaneously. The next tip that I was more of a lesson learned for myself is to bring a tablecloth. As nice as it looks to have everything laid out, it's not as nice to have the boxes sitting underneath or just your feet dangling there. So a little bit more professional look, and not one of those dollar store tablecloths. You want to actually go out and get, especially if you're going to be doing these shows on a regular basis, get a good quality tablecloth, and that keeps your customers' attention on your products and not being distracted by what's under the table. So the next thing that I found was really helpful is I had a pretty wide variety of items, and the price ranges were from $5 all the way up to $80. So it was pretty easy for someone to find something within their price point depending on who they were buying for, themselves or someone else. But you want to also hit up a bank ahead of time, especially since I was only dealing in cash. Then you want to have appropriate change for people even early on when you haven't made too many sales. Another option that you could have is one of those Square devices or some other electronic ways to accept money, and I think for the next one that I'll probably end up actually doing that. Now, one thing that I did that I don't recommend is using a one-page price list. I had all the prices and item descriptions on a single page, and I found that was a little confusing for people trying to either find the item that they're looking at on the price list, or even just trying to figure out what a certain item is. So for example, in the left-hand corner, you can see the mug stands that I have, but without a mug on it, then it was hard for people to figure out what actually that was. And same with the desk caddy. So sort of the two tips out of that is have individual prices for each item along with the description, but also stage your items. So have maybe a couple dollar store mugs on a mug tree if that's something that you make, or the desk caddy, I should have had some pens in there so then people can see it used in the circumstances that they would be using it. An important tip, especially for brand recognition, is to make sure that your logo is everywhere. So I made up a quick little business card holder and branded my logo into it, and I even had my logo on all the price tags and splashed it on my water bottle, so then it was everywhere for people to be able to see. So speaking of water bottle, that brings us to our next two tips, and the first half of that is you're going to be there for a really long day. There's everything from your travel time and your setup time and tear down time, and then the show itself. Bring snacks, bring water, so then you're hydrated and nourished, and also you should bring a friend with you. If it's slow, you have someone to talk to, and if you need to, you have someone to rely upon if you need to hit up the washroom, or even if you want to wander around yourself. So it's always good to have a little bit of depth like that and bring a friend. Probably the best thing that I did was bring this old iPad. As you can see, the old 30-pin connector on it. So it didn't really matter if it went missing. But this thing was loaded up with a slideshow of tons of other previous work that I've done. And I had this set up with a rigid battery, so I kept it charged through the whole show. But this also allowed me to highlight tons of other items that I've done that obviously you couldn't bring to the table itself. And this way people were able to see all the work that I'm capable of and generate a lot of conversation. And my final lesson learned and suggestion is to bring a notebook and a pen. It makes it really easy to track your inventory and track your sales, as well as jotting down little notes, especially throughout the day as you learn little things that, oh, maybe I should have brought this and next time I want to set it up this way. And it looks a little bit more professional than sitting there playing on your phone during the show, because that can sometimes show that you're disinterested, whereas if you're writing something down into a notebook, then it looks a little bit more professional. Overall, I learned a lot. It was a really good experience. I didn't make a huge amount of sales, but I certainly made enough to say that it was worth my while. And I think if I improve some of the things that I've learned from it, then hopefully next time will be even better. So hopefully this was helpful to someone, especially if you've been to many of these shows in the past or if you're getting ready for your first one. So if you are, good luck, and I hope it's a great experience.